We don't tend to think this way. We're so busy focusing on kids, and in terms of metrics, we think grade 3 reading and math scores. I'm not going to knock that. Get a good Lord knows I spent enough time 15 years ago arguing to do that. But we can't be simple-minded about data. We've got to use data smart. Second thing is an example of how do you take into account the grades of schools down another level. There's a brilliant woman named Marguerite Rosa, a professor at University of Washington, just stepped over to join the Gates Foundation. What she has done, you can find her stuff online, some terrific analysis showing that we often don't allocate our dollars the way we intend to. For instance, she was working with a district in Oregon. Turned out that the district was spending $1,300 per kid per class for cheerleading and $200 for algebra. They just had their schedule written that way. And they weren't thinking about the fact that if we offer cheerleading during the school day, we're blocking out the teacher time. It's a small class. We got to do the per pupil calculation. Just nobody's thinking about this kind of internal allocation of resources. Once they saw this, they said, this is crazy. We don't mean to use dollars this way. They moved cheerleading after school, reallocated that time. It's a tool. If you want to spend 3 times as much on one kid or as another because it's intentional, God bless you. But you don't want to do it because you're just not thinking about it or because you haven't looked at your data. Third thing is accountability systems. Statewide and districts, we don't talk about, well, let me put it the other way. Statewide accountability systems only focus on performance. You say, well, what's wrong with that? That's not the way any well-run public or private organization does it. What they do is they focus on performance in terms of the dollars you're spending. So I want to know, when we look across Ohio districts, for 2 districts serving similar kinds of kids, if one's doing much better than the other, that's much more interesting to me if they're spending similar amounts than if one's spending much more than the other. When I look within a district at schools, I'm much more interested in knowing not just who's getting great results, but who's getting great results for where they're getting more bang for the buck. Because that's really how we're going to modify these things going forward. Fourth, here's one easy way to think about this. Ohio right now is thinking about reducing lowering the mandated class size. I know that's why I got to laugh, because I understand this governor's bill addressed some of this. Here's one way to think about this. Right now, merit pay systems all pay for performance. Again, just performance, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But in the real world, you want to pay people who are good at what they do because you're squeezing more productivity out of them. So how about this? How about you say to those teachers who have 3 years of demonstrated high performance, we're going to allow you, if you choose, to voluntarily violate the class size cap. We're going to allow you to serve up to 35 kids, because research shows that great teachers can easily handle 35 kids. We're not going to make any family go into your class, but you all know that everybody knows who the good teachers are in a school, and a lot of families get frustrated when they can't get their kid into the good teacher. So a lot of families would be very eager for this. And what we're going to do, because if you have 24 kids in a class and teacher salary and benefits are $65,000, we're talking $2,800 per kid. We're saving $2,800 a kid, essentially, for each extra kid we squeeze into Mrs. Johnson's classroom. This should be a win-win. We're going to give Mrs. Johnson half that money, $1,400 a kid, and the their state's going to save half that money. So we're actually now reducing our per pupil cost by $1,400 per kid. Mrs. Johnson, if she goes up to 35 kids, in addition to any merit bonus, she's going to get another $15,000, $16,000 productivity bonus. Everybody wins. Final thing, and then we're going to open up the questions. One of the limitations here is the way we fund SCIDs and the way we count dollars. Our cutting-edge idea on this stuff is called weighted student funding. When we say we want to have dollars follow the kid, and we're going to have the dollars adjusted for how hard that kid is to educate. I'm hugely in favor of this, don't get me wrong. But we just went through the whole healthcare debate, and we heard 2 things. One, people ought to have much more incremental choices than they would have if they just got a choice of provider and everything else from there was kind of assigned to them. And 2, we know that we want people to have skin in the game. We want them to be attentive to price. Well, right now, if you choose a charter school or a district school that costs more or less than another school as a family, that has no impact on you. And that's the only choice you get to make, which school you get. It's like choosing hospital A or hospital B, and after that, you just get assigned a pediatrician. We would say that's not a lot of opportunity. So how about this? How about we say there's some core mission of schools that Ohio is going to fund with 80% of the 5,600 that's the state allocation or whatever it is, and that other 20, 30%, we're going to allow parents to direct that. If a school district wants to offer French or Spanish, that's great. But if a family wants their kid to study Mandarin or Russian, there's actually an outfit out at the Cleveland airport that'll sell that stuff to you. They're scientifically validated. A place called Rosetta Stone. Fairfax County Schools got a site license. Rosetta Stone, they got site licenses for the kids at $11 a pop. If you've got a teacher teaching French in a traditional school to full load, you're paying about $400 per class per day. Tell you what, per year. Tell you what, if the family chooses Rosetta Stone and you get a site license for $50, how's this for a deal? $350 savings to the district. Family gets half, $175, goes into an education savings account. They can spend it on tutoring or college prep or any other service that the state has chosen to approve as an allowable educational expenditure. Other $175 goes back to the district or the state. Win-win. We're encouraging people to choose more cost-effective services. We're rewarding them when they do so, and rewarding the state and district for being a partner. With that, why don't we just open it up?
Great. Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we are listening to a Friday Forum featuring Frederick Hess, Director of Education Policy Studies at the American Enterprise Institute for Public Policy Research. We will return to our speaker momentarily for our traditional City Club questions, and we encourage you to formulate your questions now and remind you to keep them brief and to the point. We welcome you to this City Club Forum, and we want to remind you that members and guests alike are welcome to attend City Club forums and hope everyone listening will join the City Club and become active participants in our ongoing civic dialogue. Please visit our website to see a full schedule of our upcoming programs. We welcome guests today at tables hosted by Baker Hostetler, the Center for Education Leadership, Citizens Academy, the George Gunn Foundation, and Progressive Insurance. Thank you for joining us today. And now we'd like to return to our speaker for our traditional City Club question and answer period. We welcome questions from everyone, including guests, and holding the microphones today are City Club Membership and Outreach Manager Deborah Agosti and PR and Programs Manager Carrie Miller. Mr. Hess, first question, please.
Mr. Hess, the resistance of unions to allowing teachers to be discharged based on evaluation is because of the abuse perceived in the evaluation process, which is basically, at least in this state, 2 30-minute observations by an assistant principal or a principal. I'd be interested in hearing what criteria would you use to determine what is an effective teacher?
That's a terrific question. Just for backdrop, I think it's important to note that when we talk about things like tenure and the step-and-lane pay scale, in which teacher pay is largely determined by seniority and advanced credits, we tend to say, we tend to vilify. You're either on the right side or these are evil things. To my mind, these are perfectly reasonable adaptations when they were created. Teacher tenure was first fought for in 1885. It was part of actually the good government movement. The notion was to try to get political patronage out of who was going to teach. And in fact, it made sense. In the 1920s, a dozen states fired teachers because they were suspected of being communists.